Oh, hello, come in. Hi, good to see you. Oh, it's a beautiful day. I shall get out at some point. Anyway, amazing thing, one of the great things about the internet is you can just get to know people that you might otherwise never meet. And one of the people I follow, actually, I follow on his YouTube channel, is a guy called Daniel Kelly, who's in Australia. So in that sense, he's an Australian, but he's a very much an Irishman, an Irish. He has a superb voice and fine melodic gifts. A good player. So he's a folk singer, and to my great surprise and delight, a while back he took a few of my poems and turned them into songs. He did something for my quarantine quatrains, and then he sang the whole of my ballad about Galahad and the Naiad. Anyway, I follow his channel, and he, like me, likes Yeats. And the other day, it's why I'm coming over here to pick up the Yeats. Let's pick up the Yeats. Come over and sit down. Here's the Yeats. So the other day, he posted a video of himself singing as a song an early poem of Yeats, a poem called The Two Trees, which is in Yeats's collection The Rose, that came out in 1893. It's the same collection that has The Lake Isle of Innisfree that I read to you the other day. So listening to Daniel's beautiful song version of this poem sent me back to the original poem, and I realised what an astonishingly good poem it is. I hadn't read it for ages. But I also realised that it's kind of got a particular resonance, I think, for now. So it's called The Two Trees, and in the two parts of the poem kind of contrast two trees. But the trees aren't trees growing out there in the world. They're trees. In fact, it's a poem about gazing, about reflection, about looking, and it's a love poem. It's addressed to the beloved, and it contrasts. It thinks of the beloved as a tree, and which is a wonderful image, of course. The deeply rooted and bearing fruits and beautiful, and the branches and the blossoms and everything. But it contrasts the real, true heart of the beloved that Yeats, in a sense, is gazing at and wants her to gaze at. And that is the tree in her heart. But he realises that she's been ensnared, as it were, by the culture of her own time to gaze not at the true tree, the true heart of who she is in her own heart, but to gaze simply in the mirror, to gaze in the looking glass, to see her outward bodily image and mistake that for herself. And that's the other tree that he contrasts, and he sees that as perilous and dangerous, and the chance of really losing the core of who she is by being too caught up, for good or ill, in her image. And I thought, golly, I think of all my time as a chaplain at a Cambridge college and all the terrible, terrible pressure that our culture puts, much more so than in Yeats's day, that our culture puts on women to have like the perfect body image and, be fit and sporting or, fair or blonde or unblemished or whatever shape happens to be in this week. And I've seen the damage that does. I can see how people's self-esteem, how their sense of the heart of who they are gets completely invested in this skin-deep outer image, and then they end up photoshopping the images, and, it's like the tyranny of Instagram. And obviously all that age of image and glamour and Instagram was after Yeats wrote this poem. And yet I read the poem now and my goodness, there's some real advice here. Right to the heart of things. So I thought it'd be worth, I do commend, I'll send you the link to Daniel's beautiful sung version of it, but I thought it'd be worth reading this poem again. So let's just take a look at it here, if I've got it marked. I've got various markings in this old Yeats. There's the Lake Isle of Innisfree's come up straight away. Here we are, The Two Trees. It's a slightly longer poem than the Lake Isle, and you can see it's set out in this part, and then there's a gap, and they both begin with a line about gazing. We live in a culture that's so image-to-image, so about gazing. And this is a poem which, like all good poetry, teaches you to gaze on the invisible rather than just the visible. So here's the address to the beloved, The Two Trees. Beloved, gaze in thine own heart. The holy tree is growing there. From joy the holy branches start, and all the trembling flowers may bear. The changing colours of its fruit have dowered the stars with merry light. The surety of its hidden root has planted quiet in the night. The shaking of its leafy head has given the waves their melody, and made my lips and music wed, murmuring a wizard song for thee. There the loves a circle go, the flaming circle of our days, gyring, spiring to and fro in those great ignorant leafy ways, remembering all that shaken hair, and how the winged sandals dart. Thine eyes grow full of tender care, beloved, gaze in thine own heart. Gaze no more in the bitter glass. The demons, with their subtle guile, lift up before us when they pass, or only gaze a little while. For there a fatal image grows, that the stormy night receives, roots half hidden under snows, broken boughs and blackened leaves. For all things turn to barrenness in the dim glass the demons hold, the glass of outer weariness, made when God slept in times of old. There, through the broken branches go the ravens of unresting thought, flying, crying to and fro, cruel claw and hungry throat. Or else they stand and sniff the wind and shake their ragged wings. Alas, thy tender eyes grow all unkind. Gaze no more in the bitter glass. Really good poetry. I mean, this is fantastic. The sense that there is a potential, a rootedness and a deepness and joy in us. So contrast the trees. From joy, the holy branches, stars, and all the trembling flowers, the changing colours. And I love this line. The surety of its hidden root has planted quiet in the night. That's the great thing to achieve in life, is the surety of as a hidden root. And it's out of the surety of the hidden root of the tree that then you can have, yes, the leafy head, and there's that beautiful description of her hair, and his lovely thing that it's that the shaking of her leafy head is what's brought the song to him. He, the poet, makes the wizard's song, my lips with music wet. But then look at the contrast now. The bitter glass, the demons, with their subtle guile, lift up before us when they pass. Or if you're going to look at that only a little while, look at these images, the fatal image, the sense of broken boughs and blackened leaves. For all things turn to barrenness in the dim glass the demons hold. Well, the dim glass the demons hold is no longer the mirror on the wall. It's the mirror on your phone, isn't it? It's the images that flash past you of everybody else looking glamorous, or what, you know. And he sees this as creating what he calls the ravens of unresting thought. And he contrasts that, and he says it's terrible. Our tender eyes grow all unkind. You think of the unkindness about image and body shaming and all that stuff, the sheer unkindness of the internet. So how do we get out of that, get away from the second tree? Well, we go back to the first, and you read again and again about the holy tree that's growing there, not only in Yeats' Beloved, but I think in all of us. It makes me think about the first psalm, blessed is the man, he should be like a tree planted by the waters, bringeth forth his fruit in due season. Anyway, I was very grateful to Daniel for reminding me of this exceptional poem, and it's another example of how, if a poem is true, if a poet writes it well and it's true to its own self and its own form, then it will continue to be true in the other sense. It'll speak truths the poet himself may never have been able to foresee and speak them into a new age. And that's very much what Yeats' poetry is doing now, I think. Anyway, lovely to see you. Thanks for dropping by.